Joining me now is Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton. Senator, are you worried that some of your fellow Republicans might see this crisis as an opportunity to strike an immigration deal that some years back a bunch of us helped defeat, that was all talk on enforcement and no action?
Laura, I hope they don't see it as an opportunity to pass that kind of mass immigration amnesty bill. Look at what Joe Biden and the Democrats have proposed before this crisis. Their first offer out of the gate was to give amnesty to 15 million illegal aliens in our country and to flood our country with guest workers to drive down wages for American workers. But look at this crisis now. I mean, the last thing we need to do is to encourage even more migrants to come to our country with promises of amnesty. And the crisis we have at the border right now, the Biden border crisis, is not created by legislation. It doesn't have to be solved by legislation. Joe Biden can solve it this week with 3 simple steps. 1, apply the public health exclusionary orders to minors, just like President Trump did. By excluding minors over the last 2 months, guess what? We've had a lot more minors showing up at our border. 2, re-enter safe third country agreements with countries like Guatemala. If you pass through a country, not your own, seeking asylum, it's the international norm that you have to apply for asylum in the first country you seek. When they leave their country, they may be seeking asylum. When they get to the United States, they're seeking a better job. And then 3 would be the Remain in Mexico policy. For those who do seek asylum elsewhere and they get it denied and they get to our southern border, they can make their claim, but they have to remain in Mexico while it's adjudicated. They don't get to come to the country and live here and work here. Those 3 policies could be re-implemented this week, and it would stop the Biden border crisis.
Well, so you're basically saying Biden needs to be Trump on the border and things will be solved. Well, yeah. I mean, of course that's the case. They're not going to do that, are they? I mean, they might say that to apply for asylum, you have to stay in your home country. But given what your colleague, Senator Duckworth, has been saying about the crisis, it's doubtful. Watch.
President Trump spent 4 years dismantling the peaceful, orderly process of allowing people to apply for asylum. President Biden is doing everything that he can, but frankly, he's cleaning up a mess that was left there by President Trump and his systematic and inhumane attacks on the immigration system.
Senator, the blame shifting to President Trump, another lie.
Yeah, of course. And Senator Duckworth and Secretary Mayorkas and President Biden, they're all singing from the same set of talking points. They all talk about how Donald Trump dismantled this or that in our immigration system. It was Joe Biden in the earliest days of his presidency who dismantled our safe third country agreements with places like Guatemala or the Remain in Mexico policy for no good reason other than wanting to contrast himself with Donald Trump. There's nothing safe and orderly, though, about what we see at our border. It is dangerous. It is opening up our border to more drug trafficking. It's opening up our border to people on the terrorist watch list. So it's not just a matter of border security, it's a matter of national security. And it's going to put the public health and the economic well-being of Americans at risk as we continue to have thousands of migrants in our country every single day without knowing if they have the coronavirus and starting to compete with Americans for jobs.
Well, I mean, the talk is always, Cuellar said, Congressman Cuellar, we have to treat these kids like they're our own. And look, we have enormous compassion for everyone. That's why we give so much foreign aid to countries. But when we have American kids who've been on Zoom, and many of them still in school sporadically or not at all, I mean, we need to have compassion for the American kids first, do we not, Senator? I mean, that's why they're not showing these yes. border facilities to the press. They don't want to see people see that, and they don't want us to call them on showing compassion to Americans first.
Yeah, we should be putting American kids and their education, their well-being first. But Laura, some of the images you showed in your opening were very concerning, but they are ultimately a secondary question of letting these migrants into our country in the first place. If you don't let them in, and they have no legal right to be here, then you don't have to worry about bed space or showers or hot meals or anything else. The Trump administration was not turning young children away into the Mexican desert. If you showed up at our borders an unaccompanied minor and you said you were from Guatemala or El Salvador or Honduras, where have you, and you didn't seek asylum there, then they would send you back to a country at taxpayer expense, flying you back there, and they'd often try to reunite you with their family to the best they could. That the Biden administration is misrepresenting what was happening at our border, which was trying to deter these migration patterns in the first place. Imagine if someone from Central America sends their kid to our border, and 2 weeks later that kid shows back up at that home. How many of their neighbors or their friends do you think are going to try that same trip? Almost none.
Yeah, we're going to end up spending billions, not hundreds of millions. Senator, thank you so much.